Hey guys, Nick here. First video in a while. I'm sorry. I haven't had a lot of time to put videos together, but I did want to make a video on this. So back in November of 2017, I first saw Fractal Designs Define R6 in white. They announced that it was going to be being released soon, but as we all know, that didn't happen. In January of this year, Newegg had it up on their site for pre-order. So I pre-ordered it. I think it was like January 17th of this year. It had a release date of like March something, but that date came and went. They had some issues with customs, some other stuff going on. It wasn't a big deal. I had all my stuff set up on the test bench. I was still kind of messing around with the water cooling and overclocking, so I didn't really mind waiting. But in the meantime, in April, Lian Li announced that they were going to be releasing the Dynamic PC-011, and when they showed it in white, I just fell in love with it right off the bat. So as soon as Newegg put that up on their site for pre-order, I canceled the Define R6, ordered the Lian Li PC-011 Dynamic, and I think that was like either right towards the end of April or early May. But they had May 14th as the release date, and sure enough, right on the 14th, it shipped out, and I got it last week. It took me a little while to get everything together, but I do want to show you the process. I haven't had a lot of time to make videos, but I'm going to try to put up as many as I can. You know, good weather's back, so I will be doing some motovlog on the motorcycle. Hopefully some other builds that I've been working on. I'm going to put another build together for my daughter and some other stuff that's in the works. So this video, I'm going to show you the process of what it took to get this system finally completed. A couple little bugs I still got to work out here and there, but we'll go over all that in the video. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. System is drained. This is all gonna get flushed, cleaned out. We'll try to clean the blocks and everything else. But yeah.
A few moments later.
It's all apart. Everything's drained. A little bit of water everywhere, but only on the table, nothing on the components. So yeah, it's stripped. Case isn't here yet. Definitely hoping it shows up today. That's what the tracking number says, but. And we'll flip back on as soon as the case shows up.
The next morning.
Alright guys, so it's Saturday morning. The case did not come in yesterday, but it did come in this morning. So let's unbox this thing and see what it looks like. I'm gonna start putting all this back together, and we'll come back once I got everything kind of situated and find out if those video cards are gonna fit. Yeah, you can see that it's not touching. Even the fitting is not actually touching the glass. I could definitely see that being a problem for anybody doing water cooling builds in this case, which obviously this case was designed for water cooling in mind. It does have a vertical GPU mount option. So if you're not running, you know, SLI or Crossfire, you can mount the graphics card vertically, then it shouldn't be an issue at all. Onto the back. I mean, basically, if you can get all your cables to the back of here, you just put everything in the middle, and then you reattach this plate, and yeah, I mean, it makes for a nice clean look. And the one good thing about doing it this way is if I have to get to anything, you just remove this center plate, all your cables are right there. And yeah, I mean, I don't have anything like zip tied down, you know, a couple twist ties here and there just to kind of hold things in place. And I'm gonna turn it around and show you guys the front here real quick. She's looking a little crammed. Wanted to really use all the space, but without it looking like cluttered. I ended up putting these fans at the bottom. I was gonna run them in push-pull on the top radiator, but because of the clearance with the rear I/O cover here, I couldn't do it. The other way was to flip the radiator around. Then the screws for the fan were hitting on the I/O cover, and plus then I would have had the ports way over here, really close to this line, and it would have just made for a big cluster of lines coming in there. So yeah, so basically the last thing to do at this point is make the lines, you know, test the system, make sure there's no leaks, and then get it going. We got the pump feeding into this radiator. It's going to be coming out of here, bend up a little bit, come over and down into this, and then out, up, over, and into the top radiator. From the top radiator down, over into the GPU, and then the bottom GPU out, over, and up back into the pump. So it should make for pretty symmetrical runs, and you know, hopefully everything will just kind of be smooth and I won't have to do like no crazy bends or anything. I mean, I think this bend here coming out of here up and over, around and down to the CPU, that one might be a little tricky. And then the rear one back here, because I'm gonna have to at least put some kind of angle on the line and down, so it's gonna be a little weird. I didn't really want to cover the shield, so we'll see. That's what I'm gonna hopefully try to be able to do, is get it to come down, out, and like this. So tomorrow I'll get it all wrapped up, and then by the time you see this video, hopefully she'll be up and running and all the lights will be on. Alright guys, here we are. The Lian Li PC-011 Dynamic. Finally completed. My first hard-lined water cooling loop. Couple things that I ran into. The very back fitting. You gotta kind of keep an eye on how your layout is gonna be. You're running a thick radiator up top. You're gonna want to just plan it out really well. I really wanted to do push-pull on the top radiator. It just wasn't going to work out with the fittings over here. And if I put the fittings on this side, then they were really close to this radiator. It just would have been really tricky. So I think what I ended up with is basically the best layout that I could have with the hardware that's in here. A couple issues that I'm going to have to deal with. I don't really have any passive airflow going across the motherboard. Yes, it's a water-cooled build, but you still have components that need airflow to be cooled, like the M.2, the chipset, the VRMs. I only have 220 millimeter Fantech intake fans, which are really designed for static pressure for the radiator. So I don't have a lot of airflow coming in. These are exhausting air, these are exhausting air. So I'm gonna mess around with that. I gotta pull this bottom tube off to kind of mess with this flow meter. It's working now, but it'll stop and you kind of gotta tap on it to get it going. So I'm gonna see if I can loosen that up. I may just redo this line altogether. When I take that line off, I'm gonna swap these fans around, have them as intake fans. Make sure you measure your cards. 159 millimeters is what they say. That is the max. I mean, literally, these cards measured 159 millimeters, and I have just enough space to put about a sheet or two of paper in between the glass and the blocks. I mean, they're not touching, but they are right there. So even not water-cooled blocks, there's some GPUs out there that are very wide with those big front displays on them. So just measure your cards. I think there's a list up there. I'll put a link to it down in the description if I can find it. A couple things I didn't point out before. The front USB, you do have a Type-C port up here, which I really like, and they give you a right angle adapter for the motherboard. So that works out really well. Instead of having your Type-C port on your motherboard coming straight out, it makes a nice little curve there. And the front ports are all black, which is, I think, a nice touch instead of having blue in there. I don't know what to do with the fluid yet. It's water right now, distilled water, obviously, with XSPC's highly concentrated additive. So I'm gonna just leave it like that for now. I mean, it's crammed. I stuffed a lot of stuff in there, I think. You know, you got 6, 7, 8 fans going. Well, 9 counting the power supply. But it's dead silent. Even with the fans at full speed, it's much louder, but it's still very quiet. So I'm happy with it. Temperatures are all good. You know, some of the stuff did go up a few degrees from being in my open bench, which obviously, you know, you're not really going to put components into a case and get the same temperatures as you had when it was just out in the open. To go over the system real quick, so it's a Ryzen 7 1700X, you know, first gen Ryzen on the Crosshair 6 Hero, running BIOS 6004, which is the first BIOS that allow me to overclock the memory and not have a boot loop cycle on cold start. So I'm happy with this BIOS so far. Everything reads out good, temps all good. So a lot of people were complaining about fans ramping up and stuff, but I don't really have that issue. I mean, all my fans are on a controller anyway, so I'm going to stick with this BIOS for a while. It's overclocked to 3.9 gigahertz, and the RAM is at 3000 megahertz. I'm getting just over 1700 on Cinebench, and everything else runs really smooth, so I'm just going to leave everything the way it is now, other than the fans. Call it done. If you're new to my channel, please hit subscribe. I'm going to try to work on getting better footage and better videos. Just built my brother a Ryzen 5 2400G computer in a box. It's a little briefcase box that we put the computer into. Worked out really well, so might do a video on that soon here too. Alright guys, until next time, make sure you hit subscribe, hit that like button. I really appreciate it. Show me some love and support, and we'll see you in the next video. my stand. This cheap Amazon crap.